be pinned. So welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you're here and I'm glad to be here. I've been having some requests to do a little bit more restorative yoga, some of the slower forms. And so I thought that we might go through some of that tonight. That's kind of my specialty. What I would really like to do is start us off in either the Savasana, which is the relaxation on the back with a roll underneath the neck and a couple of blankets underneath the legs. Or I'll also show another option in just a moment. I'll move back to the mat and I'll set up for Baddha Konasana, which is the bound angle with the spine coming at a 30-degree-ish angle from the floor. That can be expansive for the pelvis and the torso so that the breath can be a little bit fuller. And then in that, we will practice some of our regular check-in stuff. It is important to move the body a little bit to kind of capture some of that energy that's been errant and running around. It's hard for us to just go straight into deep relaxation. We'll find that the mind might be really busy if we're coming into it from an active part of our day. So having some of the movement, especially the movement that is synchronized with the breath, is one way to kind of unify, capture the mind, the body, and the breath, and put it all together so that we can take all of that with us into a deeper relaxation practice. So I will be cueing us through some of those gentler movements, but what I'm hoping to do is kind of move us through this first part, a little bit more quickly so that we can stay in some of the restorative forms, get quiet, meet the mind where it is, find the breath, and just experience this practice of being rather than the practice of doing for a little bit longer at the second half of our session together. And I may be kind of pausing a little bit as we invite people in, but welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm going to be checking from time to time to see if anybody's in the waiting room. So let me move back. We ended in our last session with legs up the wall or legs up the chair. Not everybody did it or had to do it. It was just an option, but I wanted to let you know that that's also an option here in the beginning of our practice. So Savasana is one option, and I'll show you just as a reminder. So rolling up a blanket or a towel or something underneath the back of the neck to kind of catch the nervous system as it's resting back toward the floor with gravity. And then also bringing a blanket or two or however many pillows, whatever it is that you have underneath the backs of the legs so that you get a little bend in the knees. Then you have the option, if you'd like, to come into legs up. And with the legs up, the suggestion is to have a little support for the sacrum. So that's the fused part of the spine at the back of the pelvis, so that the sacrum can kind of teeter-totter off the far edge of that blanket. Having a chair and putting it on the mat can be a nice way. It can actually be even a little bit more comfortable than having your legs up the wall. Just because of the way the legs can be rested, I can hook my feet around at the back of the chair here. And this way, with the chair, I can pull it closer to me or bring it further away from my body to really find that sort of sweet spot for the chair and my legs. And then checking that sacrum and the the pelvis, to be able to rock the pelvis so that you do get that sway in the back, can be really relieving, as opposed to just resting on the floor with the sacrum flat on the floor, which will, in not too long of a time, put too much pressure on the sacrum, and it won't be a sustainable position for the body because it will get sort of tiring and achy at the sacrum. And then here too, rolling up a blanket underneath the back of the neck. So this is a nice option. This is very calming for the heart muscle, really relaxing, kind of immediately relaxing. And it's sort of the go-to for myself, legs up, when I'm needing a really quick switch of attitude and mood and energy of a recharge. And the key when coming out of legs up is to roll over onto your side with your body at sort of floor level, so that the blood that's rushed to the brain won't cause a headache or a head rush if you come up too quickly. So taking at least a few breaths here. I'm just going to take a moment before I demonstrate Baddha Konasana for you. So this Baddha Konasana, bound angle, cobbler's pose. We would also take a couple of blankets or a couple of pillows to support the bend in the knees, just like in this relaxation. There are a few different ways to set up the sort of backrest. My mom calls this a barca lounger for yogis. One of the simplest ways is to simply have one pillow or blanket or something that's long enough to support you from the top of the head down to the sacrum, and then to have one more support up at the top of it, like a blanket or a towel or something. And that blanket or towel will support the back of the neck. So I'm sitting on the ground. My low back is touching the edge of this blanket, and then drawing the body back and rolling up the support underneath the back of the neck, which creates this sort of incline with the torso, helping to open up the torso. And this is really categorized as a back bend. So if you find that you are sitting in a chair a lot of the day, the chest muscles are being contracted because you're doing things out in front of you, setting yourself up in this can be a really nice gentle stretch for the chest, the shoulders, the arms, the rib cage. And just for fun, I'll show one more way to set this up. And I like to use blankets. You can use towels. So I have a singular blanket or a pillow, something running along the spine, the length of the spine from the sacrum through the top of the head. And then taking a folded something or another pillow or something, putting it up near where the head will be. And then one more longer support. It could be a blanket or maybe a thinner pillow or something so that we have this sort of sandwich here. And if you have the inclination and you want to play with it, I do invite you to do that now, because we may return to those at some point, either during this practice or another practice. And if you can get familiar with what it feels like and how to set it up, then it'll be easier to go into when you want to. So same thing, my legs are draped over these supports underneath the legs. I'm sitting on the ground and my sacrum is up against the edge of the support that I've created. I'm drawing my body back. My shoulders are sort of nestled, and it's just my head that is elevated. In this variation, oftentimes the elbows and the forearms won't necessarily meet the floor because this lift is too great, especially if you have shorter arms. So placing something underneath the elbow, underneath the forearm, so that the entire body is supported, will really make a difference for the nervous system, cueing that part of your senses that it is secure and can release effort and can take you into an experience of relaxation. You might cover yourself, whatever it is that you're choosing to practice as we begin. Making sure that you feel warm enough. Your body temperature will drop as you rest. But we want to make sure to maintain a neutral body temperature as we move through the practice. So no quick changes from cozy to cold. Let yourself stay neutral, whatever comfortable neutral is for you. You might just take a moment here as we begin to slow down to notice the activity of the mind, thinking mind. So this is an opportunity to notice any habits or patterns that you might be experiencing in the mind. Any tendencies or worries. Noticing the quality of the thoughts, if they're rapid or smushed together without any real break in between, or if your thinking is sluggish, more of the past or more of the future. Just take another moment. Moving from the mind, you might draw your awareness to your surroundings. Just a quick check-in, the room. Any sounds in your environment? Again, without resisting or grasping. Observing the surface that is supporting your physical body. And the points of contact of the body with that surface. If you'd like to, you might draw your awareness to the earth beyond that surface. You might acknowledge the field of gravity. Observing the tactile sensation of the entire body. Simply allowing sensations and perceptions to arise naturally. As you embody witness mind. And with witness mind, you might gently draw your awareness to your feet. The calves. The thighs. The buttocks muscles. The belly below the navel. And the belly above the navel. And outward to the hands. The lower arms. And the upper arms. And to the chest. The neck. The face. the muscles of the eyes, the bones within the ears, the spine at the base of the skull, the back of the neck, and the prefrontal lobes of the brain, the spiritual eye. If you feel to, you might gently draw your awareness back to the spine, just briefly observing the tailbone or the root of the spine. And upward through the sacral plexus, the sacrum, into the lumbar spine, the belly spine, the curve. And upward still through the thoracic spine, the heart spine. And upward still through the cervical spine, the neck spine. Releasing all effort as you observe the spiritual eye. Observing any messages you may be receiving from the mind and the body. Allowing yourself to honor these messages by setting an intention if it's appropriate for you. With regard to those messages, taking a moment to experience your intention as if it were already so. Observing the body breathing itself. without controlling it in any way at this point, so that you might notice the quality of your breath in this moment. Short or long, shallow or deep, or somewhere in between. Observing the breath as it moves into and out of the body. Breathing through the nose if possible. And calling upon your inner resource. Anything that allows you a sense of security or comfort. As you bring it to mind. And preparing for our breath work, if you feel to, depending on how your body is resting. If you're in Baddha Konasana, you might like to bring a pillow or something behind you so that your arms can be supported. Finding our first symmetrical stretch. You can keep this very subtle. Inhaling and drawing the arms as if out to the sides and maybe over the head. Allowing the arms to rest behind the head. Checking to be sure that they feel supported so that you can truly release all effort in the physical body. Allowing the lower lobes of the lungs to be expanded so that you might be able to draw breath gently and naturally down into that region of the lungs where the brain drinks the oxygen from. Just breathing smoothly here and naturally through the nose. Observing any tension you might be holding in the neck. And releasing if you can, particularly on the exhalation. tension you might be holding in the muscles. Inhaling to prepare when you feel to. And as you exhale, you might draw the left arm down to the side and walk the feet gently over toward the left to get a little bit more of a stretch on the right side of the body this time. Right arm stays overhead. Breathing naturally into and out of the body through the nose. Observe the activity of the mind as you rest here. You might release the weight of the heart muscle as you breathe out, back toward the spine. Observing the field of gravity. Preparing to transition to the second side of the asymmetrical stretch. You might inhale and sweep the left arm up. And walk the feet through center and toward the right. And as you exhale, release the right arm down, hand near the hip. Again, accentuating that stretch just a bit more on the left side and the right. Observe the body breathing itself. Observe the activity of the mind. Observe the breath as it passes through the nose, near the point between the eyebrows. Releasing the weight of the heart back toward the spine as you exhale. preparing to transition, you might inhale and sweep both arms once again over the head behind you. And then exhale and draw the arms back down to the sides, taking a moment to release all effort. Pause and feel. If you are lying down in your relaxation pose, or you have your legs up a chair or up the wall, you might inhale, and as you exhale, begin to bend the knees gently, one at a time. If you're in Baddha Konasana with your spine elevated, you might bend the knees and press yourself up gently, and then remove that support so that you can bring your back down onto the floor. And then on an exhalation, drawing both knees in and up toward the chest, finding that wind removing form to help the back sides of the lungs receive more air. You have some free reign here if you want to wiggle around or roll the body, move the ankles or the leg bones at the hip joints. Or you may just want to allow the legs to hover or hold them over the body. And with each exhalation, you might draw the knees a bit closer to one another and a little bit closer down toward the chest. With each exhalation, contracting a little bit more, and tucking the chin, allowing the back side of the body to grow closer to the floor as you breathe out. Again, acknowledging the field of gravity, whatever you choose to do. We might take another half a minute or a little bit more, coming out of this at any time if you need to. Observe the rhythm of the breath. And once again, if you feel to, as you exhale, you might release the weight of the heart muscle back toward the spine and perhaps up toward the throat slightly. Inhaling, and as you exhale, you might release the feet back down to the floor, into the support beneath the legs, and then extend the legs out one at a time gently, just taking a moment to pause and feel. Here's where we usually begin our diaphragmatic breathing by bringing the hands onto the belly and engaging the breath just a bit more than natural breathing. I'd like to suggest that if you feel to, we move into a series of pelvic tilts. So this is a stretch for the back side of the body, the hips, the back, the shoulders, and we can also breathe diaphragmatically as we practice this. So your choice, as always. The pelvic tilting is with bent knees and feet grounded on the floor. An exhalation to flatten the low back. This is tucking the tailbone as if rolling the pelvis toward the heels and then up toward the navel. And then inhaling and releasing all effort, allowing the spine to return back to its natural curve with a little bit of space between the low back and the floor. You could put your hands there if you wanted to, just to check. And then again, this is an exhale to flatten the low back, lengthening the spine, and then an inhalation to release all effort, allowing the spine to return to its natural curve. Breathing diaphragmatically here, letting the breath be a little bit deeper. This movement with the pelvis and the spine can be very subtle. It may not even be detectable if someone were watching you, just enough for you to engage and release as you inhale. Exhaling, drawing the spine toward the floor. You might tuck the tailbone, engage the muscles of the pelvic floor like you're stopping yourself from eliminating and drawing the navel toward the spine. Inhaling, softening the navel, releasing the pelvic floor, rolling the sacrum, and allowing the spine to find its natural curve, lifting up away from the floor. Exhaling and pressing down. Inhaling and releasing all effort. Let the breath draw your spine back into its natural curve as you fill the lungs. Let's take this for another minute or two. Exhaling to flatten. You might tuck the chin. And inhaling into your spine's natural curves. Staying with it for another 20 seconds or so, noticing your rhythm. Inhaling. And as you're ready to exhale and allow your legs to release, Whatever feels comfortable for your legs, placing another blanket or pillow underneath the legs if you need to, or elevating the legs. We're going to take another couple of minutes here to practice our full yogic breath. But first, take a moment to release all effort. You might scan the body and ask yourself, am I comfortable? And if you're not comfortable or you're not sure, make any intuitive adjustment to make yourself comfortable, covering yourself with another blanket, supporting underneath the legs if you need to. If you'd like to practice the Basti Marma, the grounding position of the hands, you might take the left hand during your full yogic breath and bring it onto the chest just over the heart. You can place a blanket underneath the elbow so that you can keep your hand elevated there without any effort. And then the right hand palm comes over the bladder just above the pubic bone. This is called Basti Marma, or bladder Marma, helping to support energy to move downward toward the lower part of the torso, helping elimination, reproduction. And then as you inhale, allow the lower belly to rise. You might notice the right hand rise if your hand is there over the bladder, and then fill the rib cage. And then the chest, allowing the left hand to rise. Exhaling through the nose if possible, releasing from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Drawing the navel back slightly at the end of the breath. And then inhaling when you're ready, allowing the belly to expand, the ribs fill, and then the chest in one smooth breath. Exhaling when you feel ready to, releasing from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Inhaling into the belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Inhaling into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And releasing from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Inhaling into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. Exhaling from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Inhaling into the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And exhaling from the chest, the ribs, and the belly. On your own for another half a minute or so. toward releasing all effort, but maintaining a diaphragmatic breath. And if you feel to, you might inhale to prepare to move, and as you exhale, begin to bend the knees gently one at a time. I'd like for us to move into just a few rounds of a gentle bridge pose. And we'll move toward a restorative bridge pose in a little bit. So this will be a helpful stretch. With the feet grounded, the feet and the knees hip distance apart, side by side as if on railroad tracks. The hands, palms facing downward, the arms long alongside the body. These will just be baby bridges, so moving with the breath. As you inhale, you might press the feet into the floor and lift the pelvis. You don't have to lift it very high to get the effect. And as you exhale, gently bring the pelvis back down. You can use the rhythm of the breath that you were just practicing with your full yogic breath, inhaling belly, ribs, and chest as you lift the hips, and exhaling from the chest, and the ribs, and the belly as you release the hips back down. And release them all the way. No more effort. Be honest with yourself, and when you're ready to re-engage, do so inhaling and lifting the hips. You can press the hands down, the arms down if you'd like. And then exhaling, softly releasing the hips back down to the floor. Releasing all effort. You can roll the shoulders open if you'd like as you pause, bringing the palms to face the ceiling. Let the heart beat here. Let the breath move. Resting for as long as you need to between baby bridges. Inhaling and lifting the hips when you're ready. Exhaling and releasing the hips down. Finding a full recovery. Inhaling and lifting when you're ready, palms down. Pressing the feet into the floor, exhaling, palms face the ceiling, finding a true restorative moment for yourself. Another minute or so if you feel to, inhaling and lifting. Exhaling and releasing. And if you have the strength and you'd like to hold lifted, you're welcome to, being sure to breathe in and out through the nose. And keeping the knees and the feet hip distance apart. Or simply continue to pulse with the breath. exhaling and releasing. Recovering. Releasing the weight of the heart back toward the spine. And if you feel to, you might inhale and draw the right arm up. And as you exhale, you might roll over to your right side. If it's not appropriate for any reason to be on your right, then do come over onto your left. We'll just take a moment here. You can always bring a blanket in front of you or something to rest your hand on. Or if you need support at the hips, bringing a pillow or something between the knees and the ankles. Or something underneath the head if you have shoulder issues and would prefer not to rest on the arm. Observe any shift of subtle energy as you've shifted the body. Again, check your body temperature. If you feel cool, you might cover yourself with another blanket. Taking another moment, indulging in the sensation of this sideline warm. And observe the breath. If you feel to transition to the other side, if you're on your right, you might move to your left. You might take the blanket if your hand is resting on something in front of you, drawing it across the body, rolling onto your back gently, taking any support that was between the knees and the ankles with you as you transition. Observing any shift of subtle energy as you shift positions. Observing the whisper, the rhythm of the breath. Witnessing your experience from the spiritual eye. Observe the activity of the mind. And observe the breath. If you feel to, and if it's safe and comfortable for your body, as you're lying on your side, if you feel to, you might bring your hands together like you're clapping out in front of you. And then as you inhale, you might draw your upper arm up above you and rotate, twisting, bringing the hand out into a T. So this is a variation on your dynamic twist. You can stay here if it's comfortable in your twist, or you're welcome to place blankets underneath the legs that are resting on the floor. And I'm demonstrating here if you're not sure. You can also place a blanket underneath the head. Adjusting the spine and the pelvis to make yourself more comfortable. If it feels nurturing for you to stay in your expanded arm twist, you're welcome to. If you have busy mind and you would prefer to keep this dynamic, you can exhale and bring the hands together, rolling back onto your side. And inhale and separate the hands, arms, coming back into your twist. Find what feels more restorative for you. Staying in comfort and joy. And bringing your awareness back to the breath. And bringing your awareness back to the body. You may wish to gently deepen the breath. Inhaling, and if you feel to, drawing the knees back up, coming onto your back. You might take a moment just to pause and feel here, the knees bent, feet grounded, or extend the legs if that feels more restorative for you. Transitioning extra slowly. Observe the exhalation. Release the weight of the heart. Observe the natural pause that resides at the end of the out breath. Before the following in breath. You might inhale to prepare to come to the second side of this twist. Exhale, draw the knees over to the other side, placing a blanket between the floor and the knees if you need to for support. And the arms come out into a T. You can keep a blanket or a pillow between the knees and the ankles if that's supportive for the hip. If you'd like to make this more dynamic, moving with the breath, you might exhale, rolling over to your side, bringing the hands, palms together. And then inhale, reaching that upper arm up and over and across until the arms are open into a T. You can stay here or continue to move the arms with the breath, or stop and start depending on how your body feels. Rolling the head if you are moving the arm. Getting that proprioceptive input by moving the eyes. Taking a few minutes, whatever feels right to you. Observe the breath. Observe the activity of the mind. Observe the breath. Preparing to return to center as you're ready. Moving with the breath, you might inhale, drawing the knees back up to neutral, resting on your back, either with the knees bent or the legs extended. You might ask yourself, am I comfortable? If you are comfortable and you'd like to stay as you are, you're welcome to. Or if you'd like to rearrange the props for yourself to rest in your relaxation, a blanket underneath the neck, blankets underneath the legs. Or if you'd like to practice one final inversion, you might draw yourself over to your side very slowly, pressing yourself back up. Moving off of your mat. So that you can rearrange the supports for yourself. If you'd like to come into this gentle back bend and inversion, this bridge pose or bridge form. I've taken a couple of blankets that will support the feet and the legs lying on my back. And then another support that's about the same height that will be underneath the spine up to the thoracic spine. You can have, instead of these two blankets, a lot of support, many blankets or pillows, so that your feet are a little bit more elevated. That can help to relieve strain or tension in the low back when you come into this form. You can also have a chair or a wall and allow this form to be just restoratively propped for the back. So let me demonstrate if you're not familiar with this. Glancing back, when I draw my upper body back, the shoulders will land on the floor. The folded edge of this blanket meets the backside of the heart center. The bra line or the base of the shoulder blades so that there is an expansiveness, a lift at the sternum, and a stretch at the front side of the ribs. So the shoulders and the head are on the floor. The shoulders are not up on the blanket. This way there's a gentle cascading of the blood and fluids from the feet and the legs to the vital organs and then upward to the brain. You don't have to stay in this form very long to get the effect. And if you do spend a lot of time in chairs and it's comfortable for you to work your legs down toward the floor, you will get a gentle stretch of the psoas, the front sides of the hips, which contract as we sit in chairs over long and affect our posture. You might inhale and lift the breastbone wherever you are, allowing the breastbone to rise from the breath within. And as you exhale, you might release the shoulders back toward the floor, tuck the chin slightly, allowing the palms to face the ceiling. Just take another minute here if you're in your bridge. Practicing a diaphragmatic breath if you feel to, or the full yogic breath, the 3-part breath. And asking yourself, am I comfortable? If you are comfortable and you'd like to stay where you are, you're welcome to. If you're in bridge and you'd like to transition now or sometime in the near future, you might inhale to prepare. And as you exhale, begin to bend the knees gently, one at a time. And then draw yourself over to your side, supporting your head with an arm or with a blanket. And rest on your side again for at least a few breaths to avoid a headache or a head rush. And if you are on your side and you would like to set yourself up for a final relaxation, If you can do so without lifting the head, wiggling your way towards supporting underneath the neck and underneath the legs, however feels right to you. Covering your eyes and your body. You're welcome to breathe naturally or to continue diaphragmatic breath, a 3-part breath. Or the humming bee breath, simply exhaling and toning with a long hum until there is no breath left. Especially if the mind is busy, the humming bee breath can be harmonizing. If you feel to, you might gently draw your awareness to the tailbone or the roof of the spine. Drawing your awareness up through the sacral plexus, sacrum, and up through the solar plexus, the lumbar spine, your belly spine. Observing the breath, inhaling and drawing your awareness upward through the heart plexus, the thoracic spine. If you'd like to move up higher to the neck spine, throat plexus, inhaling upward, inhaling further still from the back of the neck to the spiritual eye or the prefrontal cortex. Receiving any sensations of light at the brow bone, eyes closed or open, gaze is soft. Releasing the weight of the heart muscle back toward the spine as you breathe out. Releasing the muscles of the throat. Lifting your gaze toward the spiritual eye as you observe the pause at the end of the out breath. Resting here for as long as feels comfortable, or taking this relaxation into meditation if you feel to.